Hi, last time we saw about how servers function, okay? We were using servers ultimate and other things, okay? Then we saw some of the signaling protocols, how it was used, some of the data transfer protocols like UDP, TCP/IP and things like that, okay? So those kind of things was already there. So then we saw the 7 layers. 7 layers was like physical data link, network, physical data link, network layer, then session layer, no, transport layer, then you have a session layer, then you have presentation layer, then you have an application layer. So there are 7 things, okay? Physical, data link, network, transport, session, presentation, and application, okay? So these are the 7 layer modeling you have to think through, okay? Now today we are going to talk specifically about a particular kind of app we are going to write, okay? Let's find out how we can write an app. Let's take a simple app. Now this is a TFTP client server. So this is a particular kind of server. Like I have given TFTP server, so it gives you, when I search for it, then it gives you TFTP client server. Okay, now where TFTP is used, okay, TFTP is Trivial File Transfer Protocol. Okay, Trivial File Transfer Protocol, it runs over underlying network. What are the things which it runs over UDP. UDP is Universal Datagram Protocol, or datagram kind of protocols. Okay, so once up to network layer, you have TCP, then you have UDP, then below that you have IP and addressing and other things comes in. Okay, physical data link, network, and now we are in the transport session. TFTP is a thing which works above transport. Above transport layer is, there are 2 different kinds of transport layer: TCP layer and you have what is called a UDP layer. UDP is for sending bulk data and TCP is for sending small data. Now TFTP, if you take TFTP client server, if you take, this is an application which is called TFTP client server. So it is going to run a server which has both client and server together, okay, TFTP. So there you can do this file transfer straight away. From a server to another server, you can get a file, put a file, send a file, receive a file straight away. Okay, that is called a TFTP server. So it just runs over the layer of UDP. Okay, UDP is equivalent to TCP, but there you have reliability. Here you don't have reliability. If it is not there, then they have some kind of mechanism to find out reliability. Okay, so you don't have to worry about those things. Okay, now we are going to think what is TFTP CS. Okay, let's find out what is TFTP client server model. Okay, now we are going to install this TFTP server. Install. This is one of the applications that is written. Okay, now we are going to talk about something different which we'll do it later. Okay, now if you take Google Drive, okay, so or virtual cloud and things like that, okay, all this virtual cloud, Google Drive, all these things work above UDP. UDP is the user datagram protocol, which is at the transport layer. Now we have a session layer. Session layer for Google Drive, it's written. Okay, it's written. What is the session layer for Google Drive? It's written. So a file is transferred and it is mirrored, and over that, if you want to do a presentation is nothing but all these graphics and things like that. Okay, those kind of things are called presentation. Okay, they just have the graphics kind of thing. If you touch, then it will just transfer the file and things like that. Okay, that is called. Now we have 2 things. One is called a client, another one is called a server. Now if you want to start the client server, then you just say start. Okay, there are 2 commands only. Okay, one is get, another one is put. Okay, so if you want to do a client, it is a get. Okay, client, if you want to run a start the thing, then it will get and put. Okay, so it's just simple file transfer, that's all. Okay, now you start the server. Okay, the value must be a valid host name or IP address. Okay, now it says valid host name or IP address. Okay, now it is asking for a server name. Okay, or an IP address. IP address is 132.4.4.5. Okay, now next. Okay, what is this one? We don't know what is that one. Okay, let's go back and see what is this one. Okay, now it is remote file. Okay, it's asking for a file name. Okay, local file and a remote file. Okay, it's asking for two things how to transfer it. Okay, now before we want to start the server, so first let's get this for client. Client means we get the file. So we get the file from this server. That's all it says. Okay, now first we will fill out the form for server. Okay, now default is this one. Okay, default profile is default. Then local directory. Local directory is what? If you say allow. Okay, now SD card. Okay, now this is your local. So I am just GCIM. Okay, then I say okay. Okay, now what? It has started a server with the port number, listing port number this, and it has chosen the local directory as GCIM. Now accept only from this /0. Okay, now you can just enter the IP address. Okay, straight away you can just give the IP address or other things. Okay, so here we have 253.4.4.4 done. Okay, now we are given an IP address, then it says slash something. Okay, so you have to say slash, let's see where is slash. Okay, here it is slash 3000. Okay, okay, done. Okay, so now we are giving done. Okay, now we are done. Okay, now we are given an IP address and you have given a particular form where it has to go, and then you have done the thing. Okay, now you do this is the thing. Okay, now you add the server. Okay, cancel. Okay, now you have ordered the default profile is there, then you start the server. Okay, must be an IP address or a subnet. Okay, now for address and subnet you have to find out what is it. Okay, just say shift colon 3. Okay, done. Now it says start the server. Okay, now let's see what happens, whether it starts or not. Okay, let's see what's the subnetting. Okay, let's see what is the thing is coming. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay, subnetting, you have to understand what is subnetting, that we'll do it later. What is subnetting? Okay, now it is started. Okay, now what I've given is 234.5.5.100 I've given, and you want to create a subnet of 20. Okay, now it has started 100 and 20, and 20 is the number of subnetting addresses you can use. That is the address mask that is given. Okay, now we start with the client. Now we are starting the server. Now we start with the client. Okay, what was the server started? 254.555.100. 234.55. Now we give the same thing here. 234.55. 2 234 5 dot 100 was there, so we say 105. Okay, 105. Okay, 100 is not there, so 100 is means you can just say subnetting, so it wants, so you say 95. Okay, that's all. Next. Okay, so you have just taken the thing and you are asking for a client to do a 234.55.95. Okay, local file, just you can just send some local file. Okay, now I am going to this file and just ftb.temp. Okay, then I say okay. Overwrite the file to okay, you say. Okay, now this is storage local file. Okay, remote file is I'm just going to say okay. What is the remote file? This is the local file. You are trying to get the file fe.temp. Okay, now we are going to get it from where? From remote site, remote file. Okay, now what is the name of the remote file you want to give? Okay, xx. Okay, that's all. Okay, now we go back. So that is the file name you are going to give. Okay, then you are going to transfer this file to some directory fe.temp, where it is taken out from this local file is that, and then this is the xx. Okay, now we send. Okay, let's start. Timeout is 5 seconds. Then I am sending the thing. Okay, now I said start. Let's say the client task. Okay, task list. Okay, I sent the task list. See, it is transferring. So 234.5.595:xx. Okay, so it is taking the thing and it is transferring that file. Okay, it has transferred now. Okay, received. Okay, 0 kilobytes. This one received 0 kilobytes. Okay, it is client task is done. Okay, task list. So it is a kind of task list that comes in. So this is over. Received file. Okay, now we cross out. Okay, now this we cross out, connection timed out. Okay, okay, now we go back. So it has already received the file. Now if we go into that particular file system, then you can see that it is received an executes. Now to see that how we go, you get out of the thing and then you go and find out. Okay, now this is the thing. Okay, now I have given an IP address, then I have given the subnet and the subnet mask and other things, and I said what is the thing which I have used, and I have received it on port mistake, and the file from the storage was transferred out here. Okay, now this is client server of TFTP, trivial file transfer protocol. So it is just going to trivially, you can just have a server model and a client both linked to a trial of the server and the client. It just is trivially transferring file. This is the kind of application that's written. If you want to just do this thing. Okay, the server is already there, it is running, the client is just there, and you have to just do whatever you want to do, and you just give the IP address and you just get. So you get, local file, what is the local file you want to get. Remote file is something, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, now remote file is xx. There is no xx file, so that is why it is so it's not able to get the things. Okay, get local file, remote file as xx, so it's written down properly. Okay, now if you want to check what it is, it says it's received, so we don't know where it is, but we have to go out and check it. But for that, what you have to do is whether it is received the thing and other things, you have to go in here and check whether it is there, but that you cannot do it here right now. So if you have to actually go into the file system and then check. Okay, that's we'll do it later. But task list is running, so both the thing, the server is also listening right now on port 129, TFTP client task list. So now the task is over, the file transfer is over. That is why the task list is empty here. Okay, that is why the task list is empty here. What is a task? Task is something which is we give for to do some work. Now we have done a file transfer using a TFTP which runs over UDP. Okay, now if you take Google, okay, now we go into, like, say for Google and other things. Okay, so how the disk, virtual disk, okay, I'm going to ask for vdisk, VDISK, search. Vdisk is a virtual disk. Okay, there are so many things like pcloud, okay, bat app, okay, storage analyzer and disk usage, disk debugger. These are all what they run over TFTP, trivial file transfer. This is called pcloud. Okay, pcloud is like G drive. Okay, disk usage, G drive. G drive. So G drive, this is Google Drive. So this Google Drive actually uses what is called a TFTP protocol. Okay, TFTP protocol, it uses a transfer file from your system to the other system. So whenever you want to upload a file, you call Google and say that you just transfer the files. That's all. Okay, you give a specific directory for Google Drive. The destination, it has got all the directory structure, and your local file, you have your directory structure, and you just give Google Drive, you just upload it to Google Drive. What actually it is running is actually TFTP server. Okay, TFTP server which is actually running. The presentation here is different. There the presentation is little bit different. Okay, presentation. Now this TFTP is one kind of application. Now Google Drive is another kind of application. Like that, virtual cloud is another kind of application. Thus NDisk is another kind of application which runs. So there are about 4 or 5 application types which are running over this Google Drive, which runs over UDP protocol, and it's just simple file transfer which is called TFTP protocol. So that is called a trivial file transfer. That trivial file transfer protocol is written by somebody, so you don't have to worry about those things. Now I told you how a particular application works. So what are the 3 different layers of network you have, and how a simple application works. Okay, which application works on that. Okay, so which underlying protocol was that and how we used it. Okay, now if you go into disk, most of the disk drives like Google Drive and this, so if you just write down disk, okay, let's say the drive. Okay, now we search for it. See, it has got pcloud, then you have Google Drive, then you have hash drive, then you have other kinds of things. Okay, storage analyzer. Okay, the Microsoft OneDrive, this is another kind of drive. These are all working on what is called a TFTP server. TFTP, that is TFTP is the session layer kind of thing, and then after that application kind of thing. So this is the same thing which is using application. This is application number 1. This is application number. This is another application which runs on trivial file transfer. This is another application like Google Drive which runs on this thing. Then Drive runs on that. Google Drive runs on TFTP. Then hash drive also runs on TFTP. Then this pcloud, this is also runs on cloud storage. Most of the cloud storage is run over TFTP. TFTP is like they just leave it alone, kind of they want to just do a file transfer, and then that uses like kind of TFTP. Okay, today we took a particular kind of UDP layer, and we saw how we can do a transport of a particular file to one side, and how a particular application was written. Like for Google Drive, what it uses below what are the things it is. So it is making a call on to a TFTP and other calls. So the server is already running for those kind of things. Okay, the particular server that is running for that, and the UDP call that you make, you have already seen the service ultimate. Okay, that you have seen already. Okay, now we say servers. Okay, we already got the service ultimate. Okay, Now you have put in the package, maybe pack A or B or C or D. Okay, maybe one of the plugins go in there and it supports UDP. Okay, now we don't know how to find out which kind of protocols it supports, but still, if you just load in all the things, it will ask for the particular server plugin module, and you just load that module. Then after that, you have TFTP, and once you have TFTP, then you can make all the UDP calls over that. And using UDP calls, you can just write a session layer. Then after that, you gonna write an application. Now for accessing UDP, you just have to give some kind of port number, UDP address, UDP port number, IP address, port number, and things like that. Okay, but we don't have all the details right now. For now, we saw a simple server, how it works, and what is the kind of application which runs over that. Okay, that's all for today.